going to call the meeting to order. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wired here. I'd like to welcome everybody this evening to the Board of Selectmen meeting, Tuesday, May 30th. The only comments I have in terms of housekeeping chores, I just remind everybody tonight there will be an executive session later on. And the next meeting of the Board of Selectmen or Select Board is not 2 weeks from today. It'll be 2 weeks from yesterday. It'll be Monday. We return to the Monday format, and it's Monday, June 12th. I also would point out that the familiar announcement regarding under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. Under acknowledgments and recognitions, well, I think a number of us would like to talk about the weekend, which is a splendid event for the town of Westport. The weather cooperated, and Carol Friedis did a wonderful job pulling it all together and had a lot of help, as she announced during her presentation. I know Jim's made some calls today and thanking people, and we appreciate that. So it was a great day for Westport. So there's a lot of people to congratulate. I don't have a list, and if I did, I'd leave somebody out and then I'd be in trouble. But we do thank everybody who's contributed to this wonderful event. Any comments from Select Board members?
Thank the Highway Department for putting up the flags on
Yeah.
the poles. They added to them this year. Appreciate them putting them up and down. Good job.
Okay. The next item is a public hearing. And this is, I'll read it. Request of 62 EBR LLC, that's the owner of this. It's for a 6-month seasonal trailer permit for recreational purposes to locate a trailer on 62 East Beach Road. The property is shown on Assessor's Map 76A, Lot 67. Jim, could you take us through this? I don't know if anybody's here for representing the owner.
The owner here.
Okay.
So this property, I think, was recently purchased, changed ownership. The plan that they're proposing is identical to what was there last year, so there are no changes. The trailer and the decks and the permanent structures are in the same place, so very similar to what the plan showed. We don't see any changes. I recommend approval.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Does anything?
Does the owner wish to say anything to us?
No neighbors complain?
We're glad to have you here. Appreciate it. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Is there anyone from the public to do that?
Oh, yes, this is a public hearing, so there could be other public comments. If anybody wishes to speak, thank you for reminding me. Okay, so it looks like that's not the case, so we will vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Bob, that passes 5-0. We'd also like to thank Bob Barboza for being our recording secretary this evening. Welcome back. Right, that concludes the public hearing portion of our meeting this evening. The next section is licenses and permits. There's only one, 2A. It's 2 parts, however. It's a 1-day liquor license request for the Holy Ghost Club, 179 Sodom Road. The 2 events are June 10th, 2023 from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. for a fundraising event. And the second date is June 30th, 2023 from 5 to 10 p.m. for a chicken barbecue. Jim, any comments here?
No, they have been, these are pretty similar to what they do on a regular basis. Lieutenant Kudo has reviewed it, and he does not have any issues with it.
Okay. And what would be the pleasure of the committee?
I'll move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? 5 in favor, none opposed, Bob. Thank you. The next section is appointments and resignations. 3A is a request from Chief Pelletier to reappoint Michelle Donovan and Sarah Zielinski as full-time police officers and that would be effective May 9th, 2023. Jim, is there anybody here tonight representing the police department?
Don't believe so. These two officers are in good standing. They haven't been here for 3 years, so they do get reappointed by the board. After 3 years, the reappointments are no longer needed. I'd recommend approval.
And the committee's preference?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Just if in the future, especially for full-timers, we could have them come in. Be nice, see who we're putting on.
Okay. Do you wish to make that mandatory or simply a request?
No, just a request that they come in,
Okay,
full-time employment.
yeah, that's nice. Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion also carries, Bob, 5 in favor, none opposed. Next is the request from the Cemetery Department to appoint David Anctil as a seasonal laborer. Jim, could you tell us?
Yeah,
That's
Mr.
about-
Anctil worked for the cemetery department last year, employee in good standing. The Ronald Port from the cemetery recommended that he come back again this year, and he's willing to do that, so I'd recommend approval.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries again unanimously, Bob.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I just like point out, like, there's some buzzing. Does anybody know where that is coming from? Like, Ann and I are like, is it just me? Okay. It's just gonna drive me bananas, but that's all right if we can't locate it.
Could be
If
birds,
anybody can
wasps.
locate that, okay, all right.
It sounds like birds chirping. from
No,
the
no,
bird
there
shop.
are birds chirping, but there's also this pitch going on.
'Cause I have those in my house. Well-
We can't get rid of the birds.
Okay, well, I don't know what we can do about that this evening.
I think it's
We
just
do have
stop.
the animal control officer here, perhaps. Dick, you can help us out. Okay. The next item is,
C.
let's see, we took care of B. 3C is a request from Matt Armendo, Board of Health Director, to appoint Tabitha Doobie in
As probably.
yeah, it should say as part-time animal control officer. This will be effective June 1st, 2023.
Good evening.
Hello.
Evening. Welcome.
So we have requested the appointment of Ms. Tabitha Doobie as part-time animal control officer. Ms. Doobie has recently graduated from BCC with a degree in veterinary healthcare and has recently completed a 4-month internship with the State Animal Control Department. We feel that Ms. Doobie will be a good and much needed addition to the animal control department.
You wish to say anything, Ms. Doobie?
I don't.
That's okay. You don't have to. You don't require speeches. That's great. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Can we ask a few questions?
Yeah, but-
I'll second. I'll
Okay,
second.
motion made, now discussion. Feel free.
You're not afraid of dogs or cats?
I am
All
not.
right, are you aware of this position, you'll be working nights and weekends, because that's been a problem in the past?
I am.
Okay, very good, thank you.
And occasionally horses on 88.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
I love all
state police
animals.
runs with that.
Okay, further discussion, comments? It's time to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Start tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Thursday.
June 1st.
Thursday.
The next item, 3D, is a request from George Ripley, Library Director, to appoint Melissa Ferreira of Westport to the vacant Library Aid 1, part-time position. George,
Hello, sir. I'm sorry.
good to see you.
The sciatica flared up over the weekend, so I'm moving a little stiff today. Got it at 20. It's good times. Yes, I'm with you tonight to request that you appoint Melissa Ferreira to the Library Aid 1 part-time position. Melissa couldn't be here tonight due to other commitments, unfortunately, but we were very impressed with her in the interview phase. She does have previous library experience, having worked at the BCC library in the past. And we're also very excited because she has some experience working for data entry over at the Acushnet Company. So we're hoping that that'll be able to really increase and speed up our library card registrations at the library, which we've been getting a lot more of. So hopefully that'll make things more streamlined for processing.
Great. Jim, do you have any comments?
I could just recommend approval.
Jim, I
Okay.
can't open my, if I could, I can't open my file right now. Is this under 20?
Yes.
So it's 19 and a half already.
It's listed as intermittent 10 to 19. We
Okay.
usually have it pegged at 15 per week, give or take, but depending on other staff coverage, it floats a little bit.
So it's already figured in the budget, obviously, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody move it?
No.
I'll
No.
move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Jim, is there any union issues here?
No.
Okay. Right, motion made and seconded. Further discussion? If none, I'll assume it's time to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Passes unanimously. Glad. Thank you. George, thank you. and good luck.
Thank you.
The next item under appointments and resignations is 3E, request from the town clerk, Kristen Stinson, to appoint Carla Vieira as assistant town clerk.
Hello. So I sent a formal letter telling you all about her. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but I would like to request that you appoint Carla Vieira as the assistant town clerk.
I think we're looking forward to it, but I won't speak for the others. Ms. Vieira, do you wish to say anything to us? It's not mandatory, but tell us about yourself.
I thank you for choosing me, and I'm going to work hard.
There you go.
Great.
Promise you're going to stick around through the 2024 election?
Absolutely.
All right. A lot of work to do. All right, I'll move her.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, I'm really excited that we're going to have like a staffed department
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
That's really
Please
good.
do.
Me too. Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to you guys like revolutionizing things over
Kristen,
there.
take a day off
Modernizing.
All right. There you go.
Let's not get carried away. Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? That passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
That sets up tomorrow, she's starting tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, effective the
That's right.
31st?
Hit the ground running.
Yes,
Oh,
May
not the
31st.
1st, okay.
And we have Madigan.
What's the date?
Effective tomorrow, 5/31.
That one is 5/31. The earlier one was June 1st.
Yep.
Okay. Now we're in the section on the agenda of action items. Request from Matt Armendo, Board of Health Director, to post the transfer station attendant 2 position, both in-house and outside simultaneously. Matt?
Yes, so we have a recent vacancy in that position at the transfer station. We just need to become fully staffed again with 3 people, so we were just hoping to get this posted both in and outside at the same time to try to expedite that process.
Jim, does that meet your approval?
It does, it's a union position, so we'll have to accept the union applicants first, but if there are none, we can go
Okay.
outside.
Okay. Questions from the committee?
No, I'll move it to go forward.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Matt.
All right, thanks.
The next item is 4B, the request from the Westport 4th of July Parade Committee to hold a parade on Tuesday, July 4th, beginning at 10 a.m. They are also requesting that the police details be funded by the town as in the past. Caitlin? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm Caitlin Fay. I'm the new president of the Westport 4th of July Day Parade, and this is Becky Anderson, the vice president
And secretary.
and secretary. Yes, we're requesting to close the street for the 4th of July Day Parade. It's on a Tuesday this year. The normal close at 9, parade starts at 10. It goes from cemetery to the old high school. And then in years past, you guys have covered the bill for the police detail, and we would love if that would happen again.
Jim, you okay with that?
I am. Yes, we will find the money through the selectmen's budget or the police department, but we will.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking over this responsibility. It's a big job, and we appreciate it.
We're excited.
Yeah, and we hope you guys are going to come march with us.
Well,
Or walk.
We
Or
walk.
walk.
Yes.
With the candy.
It's going to be the same thing where everybody's going to jump on and go from Charlotte.
And I know that you guys will not slow the parade down.
Thank you. We'll try that.
Yeah, at Charlotte White Road. Once you go through the intersection, we'll have you guys get on a
Jump on.
vehicle and
This is Dave approved too, right?
Yeah, Dave's got our back this year, and then he says he's taking vacation parade 2024. So.
All right, I'll move it.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I just want to echo how grateful I am that you
Yeah.
guys stepped up to take, I'm sure he's also grateful, but the Memorial Day events and the 4th of July events really just make our community such a better place. And I'm just grateful that you guys are there and you stepped up. I know it's going to be a little nerve-wracking, but it'll be great.
Oh, we're grateful that Dave did it for as long as he did, and that he's sticking around this year to help us do it again.
Appreciate that, Dave.
Very good.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll still be smiling the day after.
Did we vote? Did we vote?
Okay, we made a motion, that was made and seconded, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. We'll see you on
See you
the
later.
4th.
Looking
Yeah,
forward
4th
to
of
it.
July.
Next is 4C, request from the Council on Aging to accept the following donations. $100 from Richard Dow for best use. $25. Jim, am I reading this correctly? You've got colons in
You
here.
are, but I think it's punctuated weirdly.
So the $25, so the $100 is from Mr. Dow. right?
Yeah.
Okay, $25 from Thomas Rotano for best use. $25 also anonymous for best use. $25 from Ralph Urban for best use. $25 from Melissa Gell for tech help. Then $20 from Patricia Herman for tax help. And then $20 from Joanna Roberts for tax help.
$10.
Ten.
Was that?
Joanna Roberts was 10.
10.
No, see,
Mine
that's
says-
where the,
Mine says
right.
20.
Oh, no, you're right,
He's right.
okay.
Yeah, this is
All right.
the colon problem here. We got a colon in the wrong
for
place.
some reason, the
No,
colon.
because Joanna Roberts' tax help is $10. How's
And
that
there's an
calculating?
additional $10.
Well, what's the $100 here then?
For
$100
hospitality.
$100 from Richard Dow.
For best use.
$25 Thomas Rotano.
Unless this
$25
$100
Joanna.
missing from,
It's written weirdly.
Yeah, but the $20 goes with Joanna Roberts for tax help?
yes.
That's correct.
Okay. Then the next one is $10 hospitality totaling $250. The sum of all these totaling $250.
Motion accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? Thank you. Yeah, I think you need the colon before the dollars,
Yeah.
and that'll separate that. See, when Paul is
For
out.
the next
Yeah,
time.
Our town
Because it's
administrator's
the
having a
$10
problem.
semicolon, and then, yeah.
Yeah, the semicolon to close
Yeah,
out,
the
then the next
semicolon
one.
will be replaced.
Just that. I realize the audience can't see that, but. Okay. Item D, 4D, request from the Elephant Rock Beach Club for a one-day exception to the no parking rule on Atlantic Avenue for the Family Day event on July 29th, 2023, with a rain date of July 30th, 2023. Jim, could you tell us about this?
Yeah, we have a request from Ralph Derbyshire. This has been done, I guess, I know it was done last year, and I'm assuming it was done previous years. Has not seemed to be an issue that I'm aware of in the past. I do not have a police report yet, but they have been involved in the previous ones. And we'll get one, they said they would hire a detail officer. I do not see an issue with it.
Jim, was it Prime Day last year like this, the middle?
I believe it was in the middle, I don't know what day it was.
Okay. Oh, I'll move with police recommendations, if they're gonna have a detail.
I'll second.
So that motion includes the requirement for police recommendations?
Yeah, police to sign off on
Okay.
it, because that can be busy in a hot summer day,
Oh, yeah.
especially if horse neck sells them.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? That passes unanimously. The next item, E, is request from Teresa Walls of New Bedford for a Tixbridge pass for her father, Joseph Furtado, who is a Westport resident. Jim, could you tell us about this?
Yeah, this was something similar to what was done previously. The resident is 83 years old and does not drive, and the daughter, he does like to use the Hicksbridge boat ramp, and the daughter is from out of town, so in order to get the pass, they need Board of Selectmen approval. I think this is the second one that we've had. It's not something we get a lot of, so I would recommend approval.
I'll move it. And note, just for the people at home, this is not a beach path, it's for Hicks Bridge boat ramp.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? Again, Bob, that passes unanimously. Next item is F. This is an important item on tonight's agenda. This is to schedule a town election for the purpose of a $3 million Proposition 2.5 override and to approve the ballot question wording. So Jim, maybe you could start the discussion, and we can all chime in, and I'm sure there might be public comments as well.
Sure, so at town meeting voted to appropriate contingency budget of $1 million for FY '24. The board has discussed the $3 million override at a number of meetings over the last 6 months. We need to put a question on the ballot. This needs to be approved by the voting members of the town. Otherwise, the contingency appropriation does not go through. It's contingent on positive vote here at the election. So we've discussed the $3 million override. I have checked with the wording that you have here as a sample with the KP Law as well as the DOR. They both approved of this wording. If you get into more specifics, it gets more involved. It involves more questions as opposed to having one question on the ballot. Any additional funding in future years would have to be approved at town meeting. It's not something that the board can approve. It's got to be appropriated at town meeting, so town meeting voters will have the ultimate authority moving forward on any appropriations. I think the $3 million has been what's been discussed over the last 6 months. I would recommend that the board consider the $3 million override. We'd be looking at election, I think July 25th is the date that we'd be looking at. Really can't do much sooner. We're short-staffed in the registrar's office. You also need 34 days from once the board accepts the wording and sets the date for the ballot to get printed and to meet the requirements of the town clerk. So the earliest we could do it would probably be the beginning of July anyway, and that gets involved with the holiday, 4th of July. So just to give us some time, to give the town residents some time to get out there and get involved in the process, I would recommend the end of July, July 25th.
That's a Tuesday?
That is a Tuesday.
That'd be the last Tuesday in July, right?
Yes.
I move that we schedule an election for July 25th with one question as presented in the agenda.
Second.
Motion made and
If I could
seconded.
just read that wording in?
Do you want me to read the wording?
Yeah, if you could.
So the wording, shall the town of Westport be allowed to assess an additional $3 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding the operating budgets of the town and the public schools for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023.
Okay, in terms of further discussion, could you go a little further into that question about next year, at town meeting, we would approve these monies if approved on July 25th. But wouldn't that be part of the discussion about the budget in general?
It would.
So we wouldn't need an article like the one we had this year.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. All right. We have the wording. Just looking at something. Yeah. Okay, further discussion.
Yeah, just if we could, can this be modified, or it has to be the whole $3 million at once, Jim? Because originally we had a game plan of increase.
So it's up to the board. So the first year, only $1 million's been appropriated, so
Right.
only $1 million would have to be increased in the tax levy for the first year.
That's what I'm saying, even though it's worded like this, we can
Yeah.
still graduate, we don't have to throw the $3 million out there.
That's correct.
Okay, just make that clear right off the bat, because we're gonna get that thrown at us.
Yeah, just to underline that, so the $3 million is what we were changed the levy limit, but we do not have to appropriate up to the levy limit. So our plan is only to appropriate $1 million addition, what we already did at town meeting. And then our plan was to go up $1 million the next year, $1 million next year, although as Mr. Brewer pointed out, that it's up to town meeting about what they want to appropriate in future years.
And I assume that only then would the tax levy reflect that increase in the second and third year.
Yeah,
It's being taken in installments, in a manner of speaking.
I just have another.
Please.
The tax levy increase is voted on by the Board of Selectmen. The appropriation is town meeting.
Can I go?
Yeah, I was just, I'm not sure I understood significance of that comment.
So based, I think, on what we've discussed, the Board of Selectmen would increase the levy by 1 million this year.
Okay.
Next year, increase it by 1 million, and the following year, increase it by 1 million. Town meeting doesn't increase the levy, the Board of Selectmen would.
I see, okay, that's clear.
But we increased the levy based on the appropriations at town meeting.
We don't
Yes.
have to.
We don't-
We should as a courtesy, but I guess we wouldn't have to legally.
Well, we don't levy, the order of events isn't, we don't set the total levy before town meeting, we set it after town meeting. Because like, we haven't been in with the assessors yet.
So, well, in November, we set the tax rate. You could increase the levy by more and just not appropriate that money, and then it would eventually turn over into free cash.
It would be free cash, okay.
But
But we do that with the assessors late in the year,
Yes.
and we typically just go with whatever was appropriated at town meeting. Okay, got it.
In our motion and in this wording here, we say town election. Should it say special town election, or is that perfunctory?
this wording is identical to what's in the DLS guidelines, and
Okay.
this is what's been approved, so.
And this will
So I had one more.
suffice.
I had another.
Continue.
So, I know there's been a lot of talk about explaining the questions better, right? That can we put an explanation on the ballot, or can we change the wording? I think the answer is pretty much from all the legal sources, no, you can't change the wording. You have to, the wording is the wording. But we did talk about, like, could we put a yes vote means this and a no vote means, and they pretty much put the kibosh on that, right? The legal is basically saying we can't do that.
It's extremely restrictive.
Yeah. So so the idea though is if we were gonna say 1 million this year, 2 million next year, 3 million next year, that would have to be like 3 separate questions if we were gonna do it
That's
that way.
correct.
So that's why what we're suggesting is $3 million, we just don't appropriate all that. But we can't put any other explanations on papers
That's correct.
within however many feet of the polling place, right? So, because you could have handouts or pamphlets or something like that if you're, however far your setback are from the distance, but nothing on the ballot, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So our date of July 23rd for the election,
25th.
25th, what would be the benefit of that date?
Well, do
I'm
you
not
only,
giving a little bit more time, only because of, like, at town meeting, the concern over not having the annual report. And then, I mean, I think what I've been hearing is we're gonna have that in August. I mean, it would make sense.
we are working on the report now. It'll be done fairly soon. We anticipated August, but it'll be done much sooner than that. I'm hoping it'll be done in the next couple of weeks.
So we're pretty confident that that'll be done with enough time for the voters to.
Yeah, yes,
Just
no
so we don't have
question.
that.
And I also say that anything related to the financial is already done, it's already on the website. The town report is not going to provide any new information or any relevant information that's
Maybe
going to...
easier for them to find it, so that, I mean, if there's hopes of getting this to pass, we don't have that controversy where we had, like, there was nothing hidden, but nobody could find it at town meeting, and I think it would be a little bit easier if we want to get this passed, so, okay. That was my
Yeah.
concern on trying to push the date so quickly.
Can I just make a comment? One of the reasons you'd want to schedule it earlier, I mean, I agree with you, we should have the town report. I think that's important. I think the people who are complaining about not having it have perfectly good access to the information that they want, and they're complaining about something that's not really relevant. But the reason that you want to appropriate it early is so that we can use it in this fiscal year. So that 400,000, 402,000, whatever it was for the school department can't, they have to assume they do not have that money. And so they're going to have to start their fiscal year without that money. So the sooner that they know that they are going to get that 400, and plus, I mean, our departments too, but the sooner that they know that they're going to get that 400,000, then they can retain staff, or they can get their new staff. So that's why you want to shift it kind of early in the fiscal year if you can. But the town report should be available. I
No,
agree.
I understand. I think we have a legal obligation to have it within certain days, and we didn't, so I'm concerned if we don't have that prior to this election, that we can actually be held liable.
No, they can't.
There's
Since
absolutely
COVID,
no
so many
relationship.
towns- We're ahead of a few towns.
This, I just want to address that. So this town special election has no relationship to what happened at town meeting at all. This is a separate election
just
for a
saying
separate
what I'm hearing from the
question.
people
I know what
outside
you're
the
hearing.
voting,
They're
so.
completely unrelated. The only relationship is the fact that this the town meeting appropriated money to be spent, but the levy limit raising has nothing, is completely separate. We are setting this election independently of town meeting.
So will this election be able to have write-in ballots?
It's a yes, no
People on
question.
vacation?
There's a yes or no question.
You're talking.
Absentee ballots, yes.
Yes.
Absentee, yes. Yeah.
Okay, is there further discussion from the select board? Because we could ask people who are here tonight to speak if they wish on this question.
One brief.
You have to go to Mike.
You're going to go to Mike, and we know who you are, but please announce yourself for the
All right,
public.
so, on the.
Your name is?
Pardon me?
Your name is?
Oh, yes, Christopher Thrasher.
Thanks.
So, just on the subject of absentee ballots, could the select board be sure to publish what the deadlines are for those to request a ballot and to return it? So I will actually be taking the bar exam that day, so I will be to be voting in person for that one. so-
The town clerk's
Yeah.
office.
That'll be on the
does
web,
that.
that'll be on the webpage.
Yeah.
Sorry, good.
Definitely, good point, though. Good point.
Oh, yeah, grab the absentee then.
Betty Slade, can you put anything on the town website before the election to explain what's going on? And could you advertise that? Could you mention that at your selectmen's meeting, that the information would be on the town website?
We can do that.
So what a yes means, what a no means, that kind of thing, which you said you can't put on the ballot. Can that be on the town website? And can you announce that that's on the town website?
Okay, Jim, you've been dealing with this issue, so.
Well, my understanding is, yes, we can do that, we just can't promote it.
Yes,
Use
that's-
town
I understand.
resources to promote it or to, not promote it, I guess, so. We can put general information that explains what the question is about.
Do we have something written up already, or does it need to be written
We
up?
do, but it needs to be refined, so once we get the date, we'll work on that over the next week or two.
And I can answer the question, but yes, we can announce and direct people to go to the website to look for this information. Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Brewer, how are you, sir? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just a quick question, and I might embarrass myself a little bit by this, but, at my age, you don't care anymore. If the town were to vote in the affirmative, that would mean that the funds would be available for the 24-year.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, that's
Yes.
for planning purposes, so I just wanted to get clarity on that.
Yes,
Thank you very
definitely.
much.
Definitely.
Can I just ask?
Please.
There is some period of time, like the election happens, you don't get it like the day after the yes vote. I think, unfortunately, Tom, there's some process that has to go through to get certified or approved or whatever, right?
Clerk has to certify the election. I don't believe it's much after that, so it should be fairly quick.
I guess I suffer from a little bit of impatience that everybody knows about, so thank you very much.
Yes, that was clearly the intent along the way. Further discussion, and that includes public members as well? Okay, did we make a motion?
We did.
Sean read it.
That's right, you did. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, so we're on. We look forward to that and hope that it will be successful.
Just gotta make sure the superintendent's got the schools open for us that day.
July 25th.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
We appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Okay, that's good. That's a big event, and I'm sure it will go well. I'm very optimistic personally. Okay, the next items are discussion items. The first is 5A, the town beach lifeguard discussion. I see Mr. Leach is here, and others, so please join us.
Mr. Chairman, before they start, because they're not aware of this, but I think we received 3 or 4 applications this afternoon. They came in late this afternoon.
Okay.
Something to hand out, is that?
That's fine,
all right?
yeah.
Thank you. Just one page.
And if you could just identify yourselves for the public record.
Okay,
here. We know who you are.
Sean Leach, the chair of the Beach Committee. I'm here with Terry Long, member of the Beach Committee, who's done a yeoman's job of effort here on this particular task. He took it and ran with it. Basically, last fall, we knew the head lifeguard was not going to come back. We were aware of that. But we were not aware of until this spring that the other 8 lifeguards were not going to come back. So we got a late start as far as kicking off this thing and getting out the word out that, you know, we needed lifeguards desperately, you know. So as Mr. Long has drafted a letter, and I think it's in your packet here, we went out to various agencies, Mr. Long did. He has them listed here: Fall River, New Bedford YMCA, Boys Club, Bristol Community College, Bridgewater State, University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, Westport High School, Durfee High School, New Bedford High School, and Horseneck State Beach, which, I mean, Mr. Long will expound on that a little bit. We put media out there. Dana at the Recreation Committee did a wonderful job using a handshake and going out and trying to find stuff everywhere we could get. And up until today, we had 1 application. So at our meeting last Thursday, the Beach Committee meeting last Thursday, we decided that we basically were not going to go with lifeguards. We don't have any lifeguards to put out there on the beach. There's just no way. Maybe that may change over the next week or two, and maybe we wait a week or two to see if we get 3 or 4 more applications. We need 8 for a good complement. That would count, you know, any sick days or time, you know, that people can and can't do. We asked for part-timers, full-timers, we weren't that fussy. Just people who had certification, and that was a problem in itself because for the last 2 years, well, during the pandemic, there was no certification offered by the Red Cross, so a lot of people didn't get it and just gave up on it and moved on to other jobs or other things. So we're looking at 2 problems. One is not having lifeguards at the beach. That, you know, from a safety standpoint, not a good idea, especially with riptides, jellyfish, and other sort of things. It can become a problem. We had problems last year, just people going to and from the beach, never mind being in the water. That's one problem. Second problem is behavior on the beach. So lifeguards out there, there's no one monitoring. Now, we are in the process, I think we're in the process of purchasing a sign, the big highway sign to put down there to say unguarded life, you know, beach closed. And I've asked Chris Gonzalez, the highway department, to make up signs. Oddly enough, 3 out of the 4 parking by permit signs disappeared last weekend from the front of the parking lot all of a sudden, oddly enough. So he's making up new signs for that also. So the police do a wonderful job ticketing, but they don't have the time to go out on the beach. We are in the process of getting a gator to possibly put in a storage container down there so that it can be offered to the police or whomever needs it to patrol the beach. On occasion, if they go down there, rather than walk all the way down there to find nothing going on, it'd be nice to get in a little vehicle and ride, go up and down the beach. That's about the best we can do. We're not sure about behavior. Maybe we have more applicants now. We can cover weekends possibly. Maybe a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday thing, or that kind of, because the weekends are obviously the busiest days of the year. I don't know who the applicants are, or if they're qualified, and we may get more. So I guess now it may change, but as of before I came to this meeting, it was 1 applicant and maybe possibly 1 other person. I don't know if Mr. Long wants to say anything.
Yeah, I joined the committee, the beach committee, back in January, and I'm excited to assist in any way possible. One of the first meetings, we discussed lifeguards and the possibility of the head lifeguard not coming back as well as other lifeguards. So I suggested reaching out to these organizations. I did that. I reached out first to the American Red Cross just to find out what courses were going to be offered, where they were going to be offered, what the cost of those courses were, and if they could help us get the word out in terms of lifeguards and recruitment. Unfortunately, the Red Cross said they can't help with recruitment. They did provide me with their website, which had all of the classes as well as the cost and pertinent information. I then reached out to all of the organizations that I knew of that had a pool or that would be offering a lifeguard course. The Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, UMass Dartmouth, Bridgewater State, Westport High School I reached out to, as well as Durfee, Bristol Community College, New Bedford High School, just to let them know that we were going to have positions available for lifeguard. They said they would do their best to get the word out, but they themselves, many of them were dealing with the same issue that we were. I don't know, we all read the newspaper and see articles in there with different municipalities that are dealing with the same sort of shortage, whether it be lifeguards or other employment. But it seems like every municipality is dealing with it one way or another, struggling to recruit lifeguards. We still have an open line of communication with those organizations, but to date, we haven't received any candidates that, could fill the positions. I'll continue to do all I can to bring in candidates. I did receive a few phone calls, whether or not they've come in to fill out applications, I'm unsure. I was able to speak with the head lifeguard over at Horseneck State Beach, who said he would love the opportunity if the town was interested in collaborating with us in the future, whether it be for recruitment or even training best practices. I think the big question that comes up is what happens if there is an emergency and we don't have lifeguards down there. So I would recommend, and I don't know that we would have the candidates to fill those positions, but as Sean said, during peak times, whether it's the weekend or a holiday, if we could get individuals to fill the position, that would be great. The state did, or the head lifeguard did mention that we have a radio,
yeah.
To communicate with the Horseneck lifeguards in the event of an emergency. So in the event we can't hire lifeguards, can we put somebody down there who could monitor the situation? And if there was an issue, call it into the state for assistance. I was a lifeguard at Horseneck. I feel like you have a matter of seconds if there is an issue in the water to provide assistance. So anything we can do to be there for those who visit the beach, I think we have to. He recommended, and Sean and I had discussed, just as Gooseberry Island is, they have a ring buoy, which is at their beach, and he recommended that, in the event we weren't going to have lifeguards, we would have a ring buoy. If we could have somebody that could monitor that radio, we felt like it would go a long way. And he just mentioned that the state is dealing with the same issue. Their recruitment is pretty much year-round, so I think that's something that moving forward we should probably look at, whether it be advertising or even just putting it on the scroll year-round that we're looking for lifeguards. I think it would help in terms of recruitment. And I would say one, last-ditch effort to try and attract lifeguards. If we can do some sort of press event or something down the beach, just letting the public know that, we've done all we can to try and attract candidates to fill these positions. There are positions available. If anyone is interested, make them aware of, what we're paying. And if we can't attract good candidates, qualified candidates, then looking at different scenarios to try and protect the waters.
So we have, do we have any applicants who are under the age of 18?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't reviewed them. They came in very late this afternoon.
Okay.
I haven't reviewed them. But they're in high school, so I'm assuming they're
Yeah.
under 18.
I was just throwing that out so people know. I think people know anyway, but that's new. So that's a source that we didn't have before. Maybe it'll bear some fruit. And how much are we paying our lifeguards?
$21 an hour.
And is that, in your view, competitive with other towns?
Not competitive with the state, unfortunately, who is obviously right next door. They're paying $28 an hour with a $600 signing bonus and a $600 for your stay till Labor Day.
Do you know if they have all their positions filled?
I think they do.
I believe they do.
I think they have a couple of our ex-lifeguards.
Yeah. I think that's part of the issue that we dealt with is that, if you're a high school student or you're going into college, you're looking at getting a summer job that's going to allow you to make some money and go off to school and have some money saved up. So The state is also offering to pay for the training. So if you commit to working for the state, they'll pay for the lifeguard training. They will give you the signing bonus, they'll pay you more money. It's difficult to compete with that. We had discussed at our last meeting the possibility of working with the Director of Recreation and the school department. Is there some sort of program that we can put together where we offer possibly lifeguard training to the students at Westport High School? You know, and is that something they could build into the curriculum that would allow us to have a future pool of potential candidates to fill those positions and to get people excited about lifeguarding? I think we all understand the importance of it. It's just, it's difficult to fill those positions if nobody's applying.
Yeah. It seems it's more of a question of availability of people rather than money, though.
I think it's money. If I could make $28 like a
Down
few
the
hundred
beach.
yards over, I would take that.
You can't make $28 if all the positions are filled. 28's are gone.
Yeah.
21 is left. That's
A lot of state facilities.
See, and the problem is if we bump up to 28, that, you know, obviously it calls for an increase in beach stickers.
We did that.
Yeah, we did that last year to get to 21. Now we'd have to go again to get to 28. And this is where you're chasing your tail, I think, at a certain point. I mean, we need to have this. To me, it's the beach, Cherry Web Beach is the biggest recreational facility in the town of Westport. And it's the one that's probably most utilized by evidence of 4,400 beach stickers that get sold. And any given weekend, if it's hot, there's as many people there as there will be anywhere else. The question is, how do we go forward from here? I mean, we can try recruiting, we can try these things, but what if we get to a point where it's just, you know, you can't compete or nobody wants to do it? You know?
So like I mentioned last time, why don't we try to see if we can get reserves for the peak days, 10 to 3, and see if we can get the Gator or some kind of offer. 10 to 3 peak time, but it also happens with the police department, you get town rate working at town beaches, so there's not much of a line of people waiting to do that, because I know I did it for, 12 years. So that would be an idea. I mean, at least they're qualified.
Right, well, and the thing is, monitoring is very important. We received our first report from the Audubon about the plover nests and things along that and the activity on the beach. And realistically, you know, if there's nobody there watching, it'll only get worse.
At least the patrol, because people drop off their kids there and everything.
Well, that's the bigger problem. For years, I've seen that. And you go there at the end of the day, you see them waiting at the parking lot for mom or dad to pick them up, and then you see them at the beginning of the day, mom and dad drops them off, because it becomes like, I don't want to say daycare, but it's almost like a teenage daycare, because then mom and dad can go to work and they don't have to worry about, you know, what's going on at home. And unfortunately, you know, if a lot of times you're 12, 13 years old, the lifeguards, you know, where's your parents?
Yep. So, I mean, if we could try to do that, maybe you could have yourself or Jim could talk with the police chief and try to get a detail in the works that at least we could cover it. See if we can get
Well, obviously, we're gonna, if we don't hire 8 lifeguards, we have personnel money that will not be utilized.
I mean, we're talking 85 already this week, so.
Yeah.
All right, just an idea. Like I say, 10 to 3 is usually the peak where you can get people to work. You can sleep late and then you can work details at night, so.
Well, obviously, the 4th of July is the first big day, and that's, unfortunately, it's in the middle of the week this year.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have people who take the whole week off, so that beach might be crowded, if the weather's nice, obviously.
No,
The whole week, not just, the holiday is usually, oddly enough, of the whole week, the least day, because most people have plans on 4th of July, barbecues, whatever.
Problem is the beach doesn't lock them in for their area. Beach Patrol is East Beach, Cherry and Webb, and the Harbor. And the
Beach
boat
Haven.
ramp. It's a big area to cover.
That's why we thought if we left the Gator in a Voltran, next to the dumpster that they had the keys to, if they needed to park, go on there and do a 10-minute run up and down the beach.
Yeah, they got a little 10-footer now that won't take too much space on the Voltran.
Right, that's what that's what the plan was at this point in time. We were gonna get the Gator anyway, because to buy a 4-wheel drive truck for the beach, finding a 4-wheel drive truck is next to impossible. Finding one that's affordable is impossible.
So we already lowered the age to 16, right?
Right.
So the age of 16, did we talk to personnel board about raising the salary?
Has not gone before them as of yet.
Not yet, okay. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get up to horseneck, but maybe.
Well, no, but I mean, we could probably raise it a little bit, but I think it's kind of late to, but I'd have to see what the budget would allow. But again, you're looking at, you know, if you want to chase Horse Neck eventually, you're gonna have to raise the beach passes.
Well, but I was talking to somebody who was saying they'd rather have their teenager, they'd rather have them at Cherry and Webb than Horse Neck, because you get different sports.
Absolutely, absolutely, it's much, if you were doing it, but $7 an hour is still $7 an hour when you're 18 years old.
They got the backup of
Agreed.
Horse Neck Bill. I mean, there's 30 lifeguards that jump in the water, and they got a system too, they got a square system.
Yeah.
Barry, you must be familiar with it.
Yeah,
Where you
absolutely.
cover a 10 by 10 square, it's like an army goes out, boom, and then they cover squares. So, I worked there too, but I didn't work the chair like Barry, I had to clean the grounds and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that would be my idea, to have good communication with the police chief so he has an idea, because that beach patrol car has got a big area to cover.
One of the problems is you really need a radio down there for emergency control, because it's unreliable cell phone service. Possibly with the new cell phone tower, maybe that would go away, because even if the average person pulls out a phone to call an emergency, a 911, you may or may not have service.
If I could, the police can get the different band radio too, so they could have Horse Neck on a click of the dial, as soon as they call.
We had the radios where they checked in, when the lifeguards got to the beach, they checked in with the police
I remember
department
they
to make sure.
called in.
Yeah,
But I don't remember if they could communicate with Horse Neck on theirs.
yeah, I believe they
They
can.
could, so they got
Yeah.
multi-band?
Yep.
All right, that helps too.
So for tonight, you're not requesting specific action from the Board of Selectmen?
Well, I think we need to,
Heads up.
we're 3 weeks from an opening date, and we need to make a decision fairly quickly. I don't know.
What decision do you want us to
What is
make?
the decision?
I close the beach for the summer. No, I'm kidding. You're gonna get a lot of pushback if there's no guards on, there's no doubt. I know I will get an earful, and I'm sure each one of you will get
Well,
some.
but what's the decision, though? Like,
I think the decision is, at some point, we have to make a decision that there will be no lifeguards, or we're gonna go with the monitoring, or something along that side. We're just an advisory board, and we just advise you what to do, and, whatever
what are you
you.
advising us to do?
Well, I think we need to have somebody at least monitoring. If we have 5 people, we could get through a weekend schedule type thing. We could do a 4 or 5 day week,
So,
We have another meeting before you open, right?
I'm assuming.
June
We're open the
12th.
17th, so I don't know when your
12th.
next meeting, the 12th?
yeah, so a decision, at least for the applicants, they need to know soon, right? Because if
Yeah.
they're not gonna work here, they need to find another job.
Yep.
I think, based on what you've said, you need a minimum of 6, and maybe you do a 5-day schedule, weekends and 2 days, there are no guards. But these kids are young, there's no carryover, usually you have carryover from year to year, so the older guards kind of show the younger guards how to do it,
Right.
and what they should be looking for, and the training and the physical fitness stuff during the day. I think we can get somebody from Horse Neck to come over and assist with the training if they're younger people. Perry's talked to Chris Boyle and others over there, so we could do that. But you gotta see what type of applicants we get. If they're all very young, you may not wanna put,
Yeah,
all young
six-
people.
you-
on.
Yeah, you have a 16-year-old without, I didn't even think about that, because
Yeah.
you'd have a 16-year-old who might be perfectly
Might be
certified and everything, but they're like, there's no.
16-year-olds.
There's no senior person.
Right, there's
At
no.
the same time.
Yeah, and we have a separate job.
So, yeah,
You-
we met with Sean and other members of the beach committee a couple of weeks ago, and Dana, and I think long-term the solution is we need to run the beach differently, right? We need to run it more. These guys have
More
done an outstanding
full-time.
job of, part-time volunteers, but you can't run a beach like that with a part-time. You need either a beach manager or you need a head lifeguard, some continuity where they're gonna be there year from year, so that they can carry over the procedures and the policies. Somebody that can go down and keep an eye on the lifeguards, make sure they're doing their job, and make sure the shifts are full, and we don't have that right now. We've been fortunate, I think, over the years, because you've had a head lifeguard that
Right.
Yeah.
was
Carried
there for a
over.
number of years, and he did that. But right now, we don't, so.
We were very fortunate to have head lifeguards and carryover. And most of those, truthfully, were town residents, children and whatnot, and along.
And we tried to bring him back, even
Yeah.
part-time or as a
Even
consultant.
part-time, just to come in and help, and Evan has done more than his share for the town beach. He should be credited for getting everything going, but he's 38 years old, and he's got things he's got to do outside of going to the beach every day. He just can't do it, So,
Usually, if you can get lucky and get a teacher, they're the ones that do a good job.
well, that's it. You had Gus Cralier for 25 years. I
Chris
mean,
Boyle, too.
yeah, these are people who did it for 25 years, year after year, and they also dragged a bad word, but, corralled people in to be lifeguards.
Yeah, I mean, all of those are gone now. Ray
Yeah.
Bakers, so we had
Yeah.
a whole crew of people,
All right, so we have the lay of the land here, but tonight, we're not making a decision, we're just looking
No,
at the general direction.
I think at the next meeting, there would be, looking at the not knowing anything about the applicants or what's going on, we can take a look and make a decision real quick on a yay or nay, I guess.
I think we just need to be clear about what the decision is. So if the decision is we're not gonna have lifeguards at the beaches and we're gonna post appropriately, that would be,
Well, the question is, do we offer these people, a monitoring duty where they just go down and walk, or do we let the police department do that? Now, that's kind of a different thing, because the police department, they're pretty thin
so
during the summer.
you're thinking we might be able to get a different type of position, so not certified lifeguards, but a different type of resource down there, like so do we need a job description for that, or do we just hire, so you'd hire like temporary?
It'd almost be like a seasonal type of employee. We don't have a specific job description for it, it's not in the personnel bylaws, but even just somebody to go down there and, pick up papers at the end of the day, or make sure the trash is picked up, and make sure, porta john isn't tipped over, those kind of things.
Yeah, those are the things, those are the things that, in the morning, porta johns tipped over, or just at the end of the day, people are picking up the trash. The lifeguards are there, people are picking up their trash and carrying it with them, because they know they're gonna get called on it. You're not gonna have people like running bicycles up and down the beach, or bad behavior, or whatever, and, it happens now, and the lifeguards always had a problem, but because they could just call the police right there and say, okay, we have a problem. There's nobody there to do that, then I wouldn't expect anybody confrontational with anybody on the beach. We've told the lifeguards a million times, don't be confrontational. If there's a problem, call the police.
I think one of the issues is enforcement and the other is public safety.
Yeah.
So what do you want there? As an advisory board, I think we would all love to have lifeguards. I think the lifeguards have stepped in as an enforcement arm to make sure nobody gets out of control in years past. But I think, like Sean said, to have somebody, one voice who's kind of leading the charge of the beach in terms of lifeguard hiring, lifeguard recruitment, lifeguard training, to build a culture of, lifeguards that are proud to work there, that are trained to save lives, rather than just, a couple of teenagers that are sitting on a chair. The state did mention, or Chris Boyle mentioned that he was going to run it up the flagpole and see if his lifeguards were interested. He said oftentimes on their days off, they'll go work at other locations, but, whether or not you can rely on that, I'm uncertain. But he did say he would ask his guards.
Okay.
So that may be a help. And I just put it-
Well, because you have two problems. You have the current problem, are we gonna have lifeguards at the beaches
This
in
year.
2023, right?
Correct.
And then you have your longer term problem, which I totally think you got some great ideas about. Let's give it to the recreation department, so they're in charge. Let's talk about, maybe you offer to pay for high school students to do it if or you reimburse them in their first year or something like that. Like, I think you guys some great ideas for future years, but I think it sounds highly likely that this year there will not be lifeguards on the beaches, and
Probably.
yeah. And so then you have, okay, if we can't have a lifeguard on the beach, can we get some other people down there, is then the question. So I think, I like this, like, let's see if we can get some lifeguards, but if
We'll know, I guess, tomorrow.
I think we'll know in a week. And what happens sometimes is once you get a couple, they tend to
They talk to
recruit their
their friends.
friends.
Yeah,
And there's a possibility that we could end up with somebody. As of this morning, I was like, I didn't think we had a shot, but, maybe we have a slight shot
Said,
now.
six lifeguards on a 5-day schedule would be good. I mean, we have 8, we had 9 last year, but Evan was part-time, he was doing 2 jobs at once, and it worked out, you can get that, because during the week, you don't need as many, but the weekends, absolutely.
Yeah.
You need at least 6.
Well, if we could do that, that would help.
Yeah, I mean,
That would help make
holidays.
the decision for us.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, but if they're all young, then we need someone to
That's a
kind
different
of
story.
herd them in the right direction.
Okay, we've had a full discussion. I would say if there's anybody in the public here who wishes to make a comment that may have a solution for us that we haven't thought of. Okay, thank you. I just want to open that
So I
up.
have another one.
Anyway, gentlemen, we thank you for your efforts. I know you're doing,
No, I hope we have guards, believe me.
we'll figure something out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate it. Okay, the next item for discussion is 5B. It's simply listed as the Old High School Municipal Use Study Update, and it's there just for the purpose that it says it's an update. We have forward motion on this from town meeting, as we know. But Jim, if you could lead us in discussion here.
Yeah, I guess I just kind of want to bring it to the board's attention that it's, the town meeting obviously did approve funding to do this study, which would evaluate, I guess, the high school, the old high school, as well as the other municipal buildings. The question is, what committee should be leading this charge, leading the study? The long-term building committee has been involved in the past. Is that the committee that the board would like to see it go to, or should we form a separate committee for this specific task? And if we do go with the long-term building committee, should we be expanding that committee a little bit to bring in some other people?
If we could, who's on the long term? Do we have representatives? I don't recall.
I think there's a list, wasn't there?
Yeah, was it selectmen?
Cynthia Brown, Bill Gifford, Sean Leach, Robert Rebello, Mark Schmid, Brian Valcourt, and Tony Viveros is long-term building.
So, yeah, Tony was from the schools, I remember that.
Yep.
But
So we
yeah,
had Tony
really
from the
need
school,
to-
we had Brian from the select board.
Yep, we need to get our acting gear.
Mark Schmidt would be, I don't know if he's planning board. Cynthia Brown would be finance committee,
All right, we're gonna get Betty Slade on there from CPC, get us some.
because Betty needs more work to do.
That'll teach her to come to the meetings. Yeah.
Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay. Yeah, in the back would be a really nice view. But yeah, we would definitely gotta get rolling with that, so we gotta look at our options soon.
You know, in general, we could probably go for the RFPs, RFQs in July, late July, and have a selection sometime in September, get them under contract September, October. And then shouldn't be a lengthy process, I think 2 or 3 months for them to do the study. So we'd be looking January or February to have the report from the consultant at that point. And that'd be the initial report.
Be a nice movie set too. Steve Manchester wrote a book that's gonna be a movie. I told him to have them based here so we could use the money.
Well, do we need a select, does anybody want to be the select board representative on that committee?
I'll do it for affordable housing, like, it's also affordable housing.
All right, then I could be the alternate if she needs me.
Okay, appreciate
I
that.
move the appointment of
did you
Ian
want it? I
Boxler to
didn't
long-term
say
building.
No,
I
I
second.
got enough committees, just if you can't make it, I'll go too.
We had a discussion, I think we probably have to put it on a future agenda.
Oh, okay, well, the appointment we'd have to put on a
All
future.
right, well, there you go, we got a couple
Well,
of
and
volunteers.
volunteered, never volunteered.
Well, we'll make sure she doesn't forget in the meantime.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I guess the
so,
general direction would be to go with the long-term building committee and
Is there some reason we should think about a separate committee? Because it seems like that, especially if the primary path seems to be consolidation of the town buildings, it doesn't seem like you'd want another, unless there's something I'm not thinking of.
yeah, to be honest with you, I think we have enough committees here in town, but I just want to make sure we have representation of the different interests that are on the committee, so.
so let me be clear, you're not recommending a whole new committee. You have the committee, you're adding perhaps somebody to it.
Yeah, no, I'm more asking the board as to if that was their thought process to go with the long-term building committee. If it is, then I think we look at the members and see if we need to do a little bit more outreach to bring in some other interest, or if we
Yeah,
can just
okay.
go with that committee. And there's a couple whose terms are expiring in June. We should check to see if they're interested in re-upping, and we can have that information for the next meeting.
Well, is the primary job of this committee now, or soon to be, the review of the consultant's work? Is that what they're tasked with?
Yeah, I think that's going to take up quite a bit of their time. Even the selection of the consultant, review of the RFP or the RFQ, and
Okay, you've given us the timelines on that. I was going to ask you that, but you covered that. Because I think we have to move this along as best we can, or get them to move it along as best we can.
But I think we, the board, has not been that clear about what we want them to do, right? Or when we want them to do it. So maybe now if we say we want to do this further study, so maybe that's clear enough direction for now, maybe that's enough direction.
Well, I had the town meeting authorize that, 200,000, right?
yes.
And I thought the wording of that article was pretty specific. So I think that's set, and that's the track to run on, I believe, for the committee. If they have any confusion on that, they should get in touch with us. And who is the chair of that committee?
Right now, Brian Valcourt is the chair. It was a temporary appointment for him when he took it, become kind of permanent, but I'm sure it'll be
Oh, I don't
redone
do that.
in July.
Okay,
I want to share it.
all right, well,
Play on God's green earth.
anyway, it seems like we've exhausted a lot of conversation, and remember, the public is here, Mr. Thrasher?
Thanks, sir. So I was just wondering, you mentioned there are expiring terms at the end of this month. And depending on who wants to serve, continue to serve, is there any appetite for expanding that committee at this point, or?
I would not have an issue with that.
I would love to have people
We're
involved.
always asking for people.
Seems like there'll be a lot of work, and, we'll be happy to volunteer to help.
This wasn't like a
spearhead
bylaws
this.
thing that limited the number of members, I don't believe.
I don't think we limited it in any particular way. I mean, I for one would welcome more members on there.
We need to, I'd actually prefer people familiar with the school and surroundings or construction, but whatever we gotta do, we gotta get it going, so.
So I think that answer is yes.
Good
So I
enough.
think
Thank you very much.
send a note to Paula that you want to be appointed.
Okay, again, this was an update, there's no vote to be taken. Jim, anything else on this matter?
It's also something we could do, like we could post it on the website, anybody that's interested in serving on the committee,
Yeah.
they need to get their requests in
Okay.
immediately.
We need to find out how many spots too, so. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, that ends that discussion, and thank you for that, that was important. Item number 6 is the town administrator report. Jim?
A few of these items have already been discussed in great detail. Memorial Day, which was, we did a fantastic job there this past Monday. The cemetery. The lifeguards we just discussed. Southeastern Massachusetts Regional Economic Development Planning Session, the Healy Driscoll Administration. They're holding their third meeting as part of the 2023 Massachusetts Economic Development Planning Council on May 25th, which is passed. I think it was the same meeting that was held down in, was it Wareham or Fairhaven?
Yeah, plus
Few
the
months ago.
annual was here too, so yeah, it was a busy week, I was out of town, so, yeah.
Local receipts. There is an update on the local receipts for this existing calendar year for FY '23. Right now, at the end of the third quarter, we're about 3.65% higher than we were last year at this time. Our motor vehicle excise tax is down probably about 4% from where we were last time, and that probably brings in about 45-50% of our local receipts, so that's a big number. It's somewhat deceiving, you never know, because sometimes if the bills go out late with the state and town, they all come in, June, or the end of June, so we're hoping that number goes up. The miscellaneous non-reoccurring has gone up. Last year at this time, I think we're about $165,000 less than where we are this time, and that's mainly because of the opioid settlements. We're getting opioid money now that is coming in, and that is going into that line item. The rest of the line items, there's a couple that are up, a couple that are down, but overall, we're 3.65% higher than last year, so we still are on track to meet our projections. The big number again is the excise tax. If that holds true and does not pick up over these last 3 months, that could have an impact on our budget. The MBTA community zoning requirements, I just kind of want to let the board know that we were notified by Halifax Board of Selectmen. They're looking to schedule a regional group of members of select boards or town administrators just to review the requirements of Section 3A of the Zoning Act with the commuter rail as requirements that adjacent communities and abutting communities to rail stations meet certain housing requirements. And it's difficult for communities, especially like Westport, where we don't have water and sewer. They're looking for high-density residential development, and if you don't have that infrastructure, it's very difficult to meet the requirements for septic and well. It doesn't mean we have to construct it, but it means we have to make areas available for this type of high-density residential development. So, I just think it'd be good to participate and listen to what the other communities are seeing as issues as well. So,
Who would participate from Westport?
could be one of the board members, or it could be myself.
Okay.
I will let the board know when their first meeting is, and
Okay, we can decide.
that's all I have for the town report.
Any questions for the town administrator on the town report?
I just keep us
Town
posted.
administrator report, that is. Okay, thank you, Jim. All right, the next item is the report, no, the next item is the approving the minutes. Manny, or give me, right? Or was it Manny?
I approved the minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Report on the bill warrant. Ms. Boxler.
It was done and signed, so it looks great. I went through it, didn't look like there was any issues, and there were no large voided checks.
Sounds like a good day.
Oh, this isn't me anymore.
Okay, thank you, Manny. Next, item 9 is the Selectmen Liaison Committee reports and suggestions for future agenda discussion and/or action. We'll start with Ann.
I just had Affordable Housing Trust. They are, the house on Sodom Road is moving forward. They do have two people that I don't think it's definite, but are looking like they will be the ones chosen to live there. And they think they'll be in for Christmas. They are always looking for help, although you do have to sign up and get Cory checked and all that stuff if you're interested in doing that. And then we also, Leonardi, the director, is working at still pushing for our proposal for the long-term building. He's still pushing it on.
Okay.
He's still compiling everything and watching that process. He's already submitted it, and they're in the process of, with where the long-term building committee is, there really isn't anything Affordable Housing can do right now but wait. But Leonardi has put together a proposal. He's still working on that proposal. He's already proposed it to them. They've already seen it. That's already been done. But now they're heading in another direction again, so he's got to hold back and wait.
I think
May I ask a question?
Well, this was not really a posted item in that sense, but I'd say go ahead.
Just going to ask.
If Ms. Boxler, who has the floor, would entertain
Yes.
that, would you?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, so he's looking at possibilities of affordable housing in the old school. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. He's
Okay.
proposing he would like to see that be a solution to the problem, but he proposed it earlier, and then that committee has chosen to go in a different direction, to look at different options. I think that his proposal is one of them, and then he will again propose it when the time is right again.
So one of the reason I'm asking the question is that CPA funding can be used for affordable housing.
Right.
So, and I haven't heard anything from him or anybody about the interest in using CPA funding, but you might want to cooperate or speak to.
I think it's too early for that. I mean, we are not, correct me if I'm wrong, for those that know, but the high school long-term building committee is now going again for another, give me the word. Study to figure out what's best, and it not being just local people making that decision. So they're looking for somebody who's better at this, I guess, than what they've had in the past. And so I understand what you're saying, and we know that affordable housing knows that, but in the past, we've gone to affordable housing for money without a definite project and have not always gotten the best. And I get it, you guys have a limited amount of money, and if we don't have a project in a budget, then you can't give money to affordable housing for just like we want to do affordable housing. Like, you can't do that. And that's about where we are right now.
No, if a project is being offered, often you talk about what it costs and where the funds are going to come from. I think that's the big issue with the high school. And so that's the reason I was just
I agree.
And, and some of the nonprofits who do the building, they should be part of that too. Like the community building that did Noquachoke. So there are people that you could work with.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, so to
and
get
that's
a better,
Leonardo's thing more than
a
it's
better
mine.
project.
Yeah, no, I agree, absolutely. That
Thank
is
you.
definitely in the,
Okay, anything further?
mm-mm.
Thank you. Any items for future? I wasn't sure if there was going to be an item there in the conversation about a future posted item for discussion, but that's not the case.
I don't think so.
No, nobody's, yeah, I was
It's
just
so
wondering where,
it's
I was
so
wondering where the
early.
conversation was going, and I wondered if there was looming in
I mean, if you
Russia.
guys would like to talk to Leonardi and you would like Leonardi to come down and talk to you about, to see the proposal that he put forward to the long-term building committee, I'm sure we could make that happen.
Well, I wouldn't personally be in a hurry to do that because we have a committee to do that.
Yeah,
Right.
same as what you were just saying.
Well, I think,
Okay.
I think it's important they look at all options, because if you lease it out to a separate entity, it's gonna be a lot cheaper to build. A long-term lease on a section of the building, almost like a condo, like probably facing the rear toward the fields, might be a feasible way to go. With a section of the building, we could still utilize the front. But that's an option they gotta look at.
Okay. Thank you. Shoshana, you're next.
So we have the Internet Advisory Committee meetings. That's David Cole is pushing that one along. I think we're looking at putting together an RFP for some more. I don't want to say for another study. It's not really for another engagement with Entry Point to flesh out the potential modes of paying for it. Our last meeting was a really good discussion about there's like 4 or 5 different ways that you can fund these things. And Entry Point kind of made a recommendation. I'll circulate the recommendation that they made. I think I just got it yesterday, so I didn't read it. But Paul Junkus commented on it that it was very nicely done. So, so we're still looking at that. So the next thing is like we have to figure out how we might want to finance the operation, and then we're also looking at whether there are other opportunities for quick wins. So we were able to get grant funding for a loop closer up on Route 6, a loop up there. So we're looking at other potential projects and things like that. So still a lot of work going on there, mostly David Cole doing the work. And Keith Novo, Keith is doing it. I don't think we had a climate committee meeting. Or I mean, we did. We recently did have a climate committee meeting. I can't remember if I reported on it or not. That team is very busy. They're very busy. They are going to be represented at River Day on June 24, I think. They'll have a table out with some information about the climate resilience. And then the school building steering committee met to approve some more bills. Still moving along. We haven't quite closed it out yet. There's still a couple of open items that we're kind of going back and forth with the contractors on, but that's it for me.
Thank you. Okay, I guess I'm next in the batting order here. We did have an audit committee meeting. It went well. I think you all know that we had a very good audit this year. There were no material weaknesses, and that's sort of like, what you want to hear. And most of the items we discussed were carryovers from prior years, and actually it was a very good discussion. Now, at this time, Mr. Anthony Roselli, who is the town auditor, offers to come before the Board of Selectmen, either on the Squawk Box or the TV there, or in person, and he wished to solicit a date for doing that. I suggested to him it wouldn't be the next meeting, but it might be June 26th. That's 2 meetings from now. And I don't know if he will be here in person or not, but we always do that. And assuming you want to do that again, it doesn't take long. It's a good process. We can ask him any questions, and it shows good diligence, I think, on our part. Okay, well, I'll pass that along to Cindy Brown, who's the head of the audit committee, to put that on for June 26th. I attended a Council on Aging meeting, not as a director. I'm the liaison. And there's really nothing to report. They're all working hard, and they're doing some long-term studies to see what the future is of Council on Aging in terms of its programs and the capacity in the building and so on and so forth. Jim and I have this is not a meeting report, but it's a small group, a meeting of several of us to meet with our energy consultant to review applicants who wish to be the town's energy companies. what's the word I'm looking for here? The project managers of the sort?
Yes, I think that's,
And we will be doing that tomorrow. We've culled the field down to two companies, and we'll be meeting them in person. And is Kathy Stanley? She's a consultant for the
she's our
town.
consultant, yep, for the
She'll be here, and Mr.
bonds.
Walter Bonds, yeah. So we'll be doing that. And then at a subsequent meeting, we'd have a recommendation to the select board, I see. And that's going well. So the candidates we have now, the last two are very, very impressive. Okay, that's all I have.
I forgot to mention, we both had the ARPA meeting.
Yeah,
with
that's
Jim.
right.
I forgot to mention that, so. We didn't make any recommendations.
Have to give us the financial, one of these meetings too.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did ask, do we have that on an upcoming agenda?
Well, no, not yet. We didn't put it on because there's still the question of that money. That was Jim Hartnett, right, in talking about what was the item? I don't recall, but
Jim Whiten, I think we're thinking of.
Jim Whiten,
yes.
yeah. We were talking about where that money would come from.
$8,500 for grant match.
Yeah, grant match, and so we were going back and forth. We needed to do a little more tidying up on that. And it could come from several different sources, so we left it sort of as an open item, but we should finalize that and then make a recommendation to the select board.
That's the recommendation part, but we had talked in that meeting about going back to the select board, just reminding everybody where all the ARPA spending has come from.
Yes.
So and post, is it posted?
It's been posted on the website for about a month now.
Good.
Yeah, what I believe Shauna is referring to, we did have a more global discussion on making sure that the select board is very aware of what we're doing with that committee. Now, you get the items when they're voted on, but we haven't had a meeting of late where we sit down and say, now, here's the deal. Yeah, and there's some nice handouts saying how much money is this column, that column, what have we spent, what have we earmarked, and so on and so forth, and what do we have left, and when do we have to make decisions to then earmark the money, and of course, it has to be spent by December of '26. So that should be on the agenda. We didn't put it on for whatever reason this time, but we should do that, and you're wise to point that out to us. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I forgot when it was my turn and borrowed your turn.
That's quite all right. That's
You want to put that
important.
on for the 12th or the 26th?
I was probably the 26th. There's no urgency to doing this, but we just didn't want to get too far down the road without select board being more engaged in the ARPA discussions, in addition to approving. So that's. And Jim put together sort of a long-term plan for us that lays it all out in spades. It's nicely done. Okay, that'll be a future agenda item. And that's my report. Steve?
Okay, and as we do this planning down the road too, we gotta remember the infrastructure on Route 6. If we go forward with water and sewer, they won't wanna rip the highway back apart for 7 to 10 years. So if the infrastructure's gonna come, we gotta get our act together and everybody's got to jive. Another thing I'd like to remind everybody on, there could be 3D imaging and 360 imaging throughout the whole high school if we want to do it through Serpent. I wanted to do it during COVID, but there wasn't much of an appetite for it. But that'd be another avenue of looking at every room in the high school and seeing what we wanted to do with it, right from your computer. We'd all have access to it. I had bike committee meeting, I believe it was last week. Now that Westport is getting a little higher on the spotlight and the irons to our feet, if you will, because Fall River stopped at the line. Hopefully we're going to be able to get more money and rock and roll with that too. So there's a lot that could be coming forward with Route 6. Next year's town meeting will be important because if they don't vote for it, then we'll have to concentrate for the infrastructure. We'll have to concentrate on bringing the bike path up and coming up with innovative ways. If anybody's seen the Fairhaven Mattapoisett bike path, that's what we were talking about coming up Route 6 with. Almost like a dock where you could see what's up a pond, because right now there's absolutely no way to bike. And if you go over Ralco, it's rock straight down, so we thought it'd be a good idea to have something smaller scale like what they have and move it forward. So yeah, at the Bike Summit, there's a lot of discussion with Westport, and we hope to keep it moving. But I can't stress enough that we got to get all our ducks in a row for that Route 6 project, so we won't be able to rip it open again, for another 7 to 10 years. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you, man.
Well, I just kind of want to add on what Steve said about the Route 6 project and not being open enough. I also had a little bit of a conversation with Paul Schmidt on some of our stormwater issues up there on Route 6 and on all our major highways, mass highway stuff. And he's willing to come in on some of our infrastructure meetings and try to coordinate some stuff for Mass Highways so we can figure out what Mass Highway's gonna be doing in the near future. That basically sewer needs to go in first. And then, you know, water can go up and around drainage, but sewer's at a certain height and the drainage is at a height that can't change. So it's very important that we coordinate with them on all that stuff.
Okay, I think
Yeah, we
we're,
already have people asking on the side streets, like Sanford Road and everything, which isn't in the first phase, but now people are getting, I don't know if you wanna say excited, or they wanna know if they're gonna be able to make more out of their properties now with the values up, we're getting a lot more inquisitions.
Well, one of our other problems out too is some of this stuff with the Board of Health denitrification and sunset laws. We also have a tri-community agreement kind of coming up with the Wataupa and the study from UMass,
Right.
and I mean that's the backup drinking water. So there's ways the way we can expand the first phase of Route 6 out in that direction that can possibly not cost the residents any money looking towards Fall River for assistance on that end, because there's a lot going on. So I think both Senator Rodericks and Paul Schmidt are looking to help us with that. So
Yep,
we'll
they've
get
been
going
helpful.
on that.
okay, well, so noted. Anything else? Lee?
That's it.
Okay, that concludes that item number 9. The next item is comments and statements from the public.
We have one today.
We have a member of the
Somebody
public,
all excited, wow.
and now we have comments and statements.
Yes. Putting together this MBTA community zoning requirement, which is for multi-family housing, I understand, and also that's being considered, I think, by the infrastructure group. Isn't that true? Shouldn't that be combined? I mean,
On what?
well, you're talking about the putting water and sewer in the north end,
Yes.
Route 6, developing it for residential housing.
Yep.
I understand.
Well, not just residential, I'm more concerned with economic, with business, but yes.
Well, I
There'll be
mean-
housing too.
So, yeah, and it could be very important,
Mm-hmm.
especially for the MBTA requirements. And I'm wondering, how does that work out? Does the state help us in this? If they require, are they requiring housing? Or I don't understand specifically the housing requirements for adjacent MBTA committee. That means there are requirements. Is the state going to help finance that? And would that be of any help to the infrastructure? And
We've already
Route
asked it,
6?
if they haven't implemented it yet, was our answer, but.
Jim, do you have any thought on that?
Yes, and I
But
don't
yet
know
you're-
all the details, but I know the planning board's been working on it. They're looking at possibly rezoning. I think the requirement is you have to rezone a minimum of 50 acres that would allow high-density zoning. And we can do that, but you wouldn't be able to build it because you couldn't put in a septic system and a public water supply that would meet the requirements easily.
Right.
I shouldn't say you couldn't, it might be possible, it wouldn't be easy.
Right.
If you can tie it into the sewer and water, it helps. And I think the only funding we would get from the state if we did that would be, you might be eligible for more grants if you could show that you had an affordable housing component of the infrastructure project. So we're looking at a public works grant now, a mass works grant, and that's one of the requirements. They're looking for economic development, either job growth or public housing, not public housing, affordable housing.
Yes.
So if you can tie one of those issues in, you get some points when you apply for grants. So it could help the town in the future, but other than that, they're not providing any other assistance that I'm aware of for.
But they're requiring it. So
Right
it's
now,
an unfunded
not yet.
mandate.
Right now, they're looking at requiring it, and that's what this group of select boards or this group of towns is looking at to see how it's going to impact their towns directly, and if it's something they should be aware of, either speak for or against, so. Yeah,
And
it does
if you-
tie in.
And we're also looking like letters from people from the public, the planning board's accepting that to help us with the Mass Works grant. People that have certain parcels of land along Route 6 that want to redevelop it, that could possibly fill that void. So I think the planning board's working on a lot of that, but we need to get it out to the public to know
Yeah, I've
what's
been
going
hearing
on.
rumors.
Yes.
Thank you, Betty, appreciate that. Okay, there are no other members of the public here, so I assume we're done with that item. Boards, committees, commissions vacancy list, that's attached. There are many, many places where we can use some new talent. That's on the, that's on the web, pardon?
It looks smaller than it's looked at.
Well, it's because it's more on the second
Yeah, Rick
page.
got a couple.
I think we filled a couple of them.
Well, they're all, we have a lot expiring in 30 days.
Okay, the item 12 is topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. I know of no such items. Do you have anything for us in that regard? Okay, we're going to go into executive session. I will read, and then we will be looking for a motion and a roll call vote. So item number 13 is pursuant to the provisions of MGL C-30A, Section 21A, the chair declares an open meeting will have a detrimental effect to A, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with General Teamsters Local Number 251, B, to discuss the employment agreement for the Director of the Council on Aging, and C, to approve the minutes of April 18th, 2023. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
Do you just want to say we're going to come into open later, or we won't be making any more decisions?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. This will be, after this, we will go back to executive session, out of executive session, into open session for the purpose of closing.
We don't expect any business at all.
Right.
So move, Steve Millet.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. This would be a roll call vote. Manny?
Aye. Roll call yourself.
Manny Swords.
Aye, Steve Millet.
Aye, Dick Brewer.
Aye, Shawna Schufel.
I am Boxler.
Okay, the motion is made and approved, and we are now in executive session.